Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're on page 205 of your student journal and we're starting a new unit. So we're in unit 8, which is going to be all about dividing fractions. So unit 7 was all multiplying fractions. Now we're going to be dividing fractions. So in today's video, we're actually going to be doing lesson 1, lesson 2, and lesson 3 together. So what's going to happen is we're going to be just doing a lot of problems together. I'm only going to do a few examples for you. Okay, so our objective and goal we'll do as soon as we do our problem of the day. We are still going to be practicing multiplying decimals because this is a really important concept. Okay, so our first problem is 3 5/10 times 35 hundredths. Okay. So normally when I set these problems up, I put up the longer number on top, but they're both have two actual digits in them, so it doesn't matter which one goes on top. So I'm going to say 3.5 times 0.35. And remember, I want to line up my digits, not my place values. And then I'm just going to multiply, ignoring my decimals. So I have 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 is 17. And then our placeholder. And then we have 3 times 5 is 15. And 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So when I add them, I get 5, 12, 2, and 1. Okay, so this is where now the work comes for multiplying decimals. Is in my factors, I have one loop there, and then I have 2 loops there. So I have 3 loops in my factors, which means in my answer I need, or my product, I need 1, 2, 3 loops as well. So my answer is 1 and 225 thousandths. Okay, here is your problem to try. 14 6/10 times 3 thousandths. Okay, as soon as you have that done, you can restart the video and join us. Okay, so our goal today is, I will divide a unit fraction by a whole number. Okay, so that's our goal today. We're going to divide a unit fraction by a whole number. So let's look at our vocabulary to see what these words mean. Okay, so our first word in our vocabulary says, what is a unit fraction? A unit fraction is any fraction with a numerator of 1. So 1/3, 1/12, maybe 1/4, 1/5, 1/6, 1/10. Any fraction where 1 is a numerator, we refer to that as a unit fraction. So our goal is we're going to divide a unit fraction by a whole number. Okay, then they also just remind us are some vocabulary for division. A dividend is what we divide by the divisor, and the answer is our quotient. Okay, we're not going to really worry about these next 2 words. I think that this kind of gets confusing, so I'm going to kind of ignore that. Okay, when we look at this, our steps, I'm going to also ignore that part, and we're not going to do this method. These are going to be really our steps. So it says, number 1, we're going to write the numerical equation. You really have to really think when you write the equation what's being divided. That is your dividend. So you have to really read these word problems and say what is being divided. This can get to be really tricky. Then when you draw a model, you're going to draw a model, draw what you have. You draw what you have. That's what you're going to draw. And then we're going to divide the model by the divisor, and then we'll deal out each piece. So these are really the steps that I'm going to follow. I'm going to write my equation, and it's really going to be tricky. I'm going to have to stop and think about it. Then I'm going to draw what I have as a model. Then I'm going to divide my model, and then I'll deal or pass out my pieces. Okay, so let me show you what this looks like. here is my first problem that I'm going to do with you, and then we'll be doing quite a few together today. Ronnie has 1/2 a large pizza. He gave it to his 3 friends to share equally. What amount of pizza will each friend get? Okay, so what is my equation here? What does he have that he's dividing? Is it 1/2 of a pizza divided to his 3 friends, or is it 3 friends divided to pizza? So I hope that you see my problem here is 1/2 divided by 3. And it doesn't say him and 3 friends, it just said he gave it to them. So it's only 3. So this says he has 1/2 a pizza and it's going to be divided between 3 people. So that was step number 1. Write my equation. Now I'm going to draw what I have. I have 1/2 a pizza. Now I know pizzas are typically round. I think it's just easier if I do these all as rectangular area models. So here's my pizza, and he only has 1/2 the pizza left. So this is what he has. So I drew what I have. Okay, so I have 1/2 a pizza, and then it says I'm going to divide it by the divisor. So I'm going to take this 1/2 pizza and I'm going to partition or cut it the opposite direction for his friends. Okay, so friend 1's going to get this piece, friend 2 gets that, and friend 3 gets that. That's what his friends are each going to get. So each friend gets one of those. So how much of the original pizza do they get? Well, the original whole pizza now was cut actually not into 3 pieces, but into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. And each friend only gets 1 piece. So each friend gets 1 out of the 6 pieces. So my answer is 1/6. Okay, let's look at my next problem. It says, create a word problem, draw a model, and solve for the following equation. Okay, when you create a word problem for math, I really want you to think this is not creative writing class. This is not the time to get really exciting and silly, and this is the time just to kind of be really basic and be really clear and straightforward. So I would always just stick with some really simple problems. So we could just copy our same pizza problem. That would just be really easy. So I don't want you to get really crazy creative on these. I want you to keep them pretty basic. So you could maybe, instead of say pizza, you could say pie, or you could say cake, but don't get too fancy here. So I'm going to say I have 1/5 of a cake left over. I give it to my 4 kids because I have this and I'm going to divide it to 4. How much do they each get? So this is what I have, and I'm going to divide it into 4 pieces. How much do they each get? Okay, so now let's actually solve. Let's draw what I have. I have 1/5 of a cake. So here's my cake, and I need to divide it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts, and this is all I have left. So we must have eaten the rest. Okay. So now what I want to do though is I want to cut that for my 4 kids. So I'm going to cut it this way. So kid 1 gets that piece, kid 2, kid 3, and kid 4. So how much did each kid get? Well, each kid only got 1 piece out of how many? What's my denominator? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So each kid only gets 1/20th of the original cake. Okay, let's try some of these together. We are on page 206, and we're going to kind of skip around and do quite a few together today. Okay, so our first one is page 206, and let's read this. It says, Lisa has 1/3 pound of flour to make 6 cakes. If the cakes are all equal in size, how much flour does each cake get? So is she dividing here her 1/3 pound of flour into her 6 cakes, or is she dividing 6 cakes into flour? Well, that doesn't make sense, right? So she's going to take her 1/3 pound of flour and divide it to go into the 6 cakes. So this is her equation. Flour is being divided into the 6 like bowls to make the cake. So now that we have our equation, let's draw what we have. So we have only 1/3 pound of flour. Now I know flour doesn't look like this, but we're just going to always draw really easy area models. So we have 1/3 pound of flour. Okay, so this is how much flour she has. Now she needs to divide it into 6 to go into the 6 different cakes. And that's going to go to cake 1, cake 2, cake 3, cake 4, cake 5, and cake 6. Okay, so each cake only gets 1 piece, and it's 1 out of how many? Well, this is 6, so this is 6, that's 6, so that means there's 18 pieces total. So each cake's going to get 1/18 of the flour for their cake. Okay, let's look at number 2. Okay, it says Andreas has 5 puppies to feed with 1/4 pound of dog food. If each puppy ate the same amount of food, how much did each puppy eat? Okay, and I said we're not going to do the number line, we're going to stick with our area model. So let's think, am I dividing my 5 puppies into the food, or am I dividing my 1/4 pound of food into the puppies? Okay, we're not going to divide up our puppies into food. We're going to divide our food into our 5 puppies. So it's 1/4 divided by 5. And this is where you have to be really careful. You can't just look at the order of the numbers. You have to think about what the story's telling you. So I'm dividing my food into my puppies. Okay, so let's draw our 1/4 pound of food. So we have 1/4 pound of food. And now let's divide it for our 5 puppies. So this would be puppy 1, puppy 2, puppy 3, puppy 4, and puppy 5. Okay, so each puppy only gets 1 piece out of how many are there? Well, if there's 5, 5, 5, and 5, there's 20 pieces. So each puppy gets 1 out of the 20 pieces. Okay, as I said, we're going to skip around and do different pages together. So please skip to page 210. Okay, and we're going to do a couple of these together. So 210, it says create a word problem, draw, model, and solve. Okay, so we have 1/6 divided by 3. So again, we want to have really basic, simple word problems. We don't want to get too fancy, so you can stick with some sort of food and dividing it between 3 friends, or dividing it between 3 animals, but keep it pretty simple. So I might say like I have 1/6 bag of rabbit food. Period. I need to feed my 3 bunnies. How much will they each get? So this is what I have, and I'm going to divide it between 3. So we can draw our 1/6. So I only have 1/6 a bag of food, and I have to cut it or divide it for my 3 bunnies. So bunny 1 gets that, bunny 2, and bunny 3. Okay, so each bunny only gets 1 piece out of how many pieces are total. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So each bunny only gets 1/18 of the bag. Okay, let's skip to page 214. We're going to do one more of these together. Okay. Lori wants to use her 5 pots to plant some flowers. She only has 1/6 bag of soil. If she puts the same amount of soil in each pot, how much soil will each pot get? Okay, so again, I want to ask myself, what's being divided? We have to ask ourselves, what is being divided here when we do this? So, is she dividing her pots into the soil, or is she dividing the soil into the pots? So I say she's dividing her soil into the pots. So it's 1/6 divided into 5. So now we can draw our 1/6. So she has 1/6 the bag of soil, and she's going to divide it into 5 pots. So pot 1 gets that, pot 2, pot 3, pot 4, and pot 5. Okay, so each pot only gets 1 piece out of how many pieces are there? Well, if there's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, each pot only gets 1/30. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, what I want you to do is finish the rest of the problems that are part of lessons 1, 2, and 3. Have a great day.